All right, our number 6 receiver in college football right now, one of the best slot receivers in the country. It is Xavier Restrepo out of Miami, Florida. Dalton, what makes him one of the best slot receivers in the country?
He's just one of those slot receivers with just savvy, and he knows where to be all the time. He's not the fastest guy in the world. Like, stylistically, he actually kind of reminds me a little bit of Roman Wilson, but he's not quite as fast. So there's a little more of a classic slot bit to it, but still at a 99.9 deep grade, even though he plays mostly in the slot. A lot of good moves on posts and over routes and things like that. But I think the balance in his game is what gets me the most. 81.5 receiving grade against man coverage, 81.4 against zone coverage, right? So we know he's a great slot receiver. He's got really good hands, and it's more, he knows he doesn't have elite speed, right? He's probably a 4.5, 4.6 guy, but just the nuance at the top of his routes and the way he works his way open against any coverage, his vision and his IQ, especially against zones, are just excellent. He always knows where to be and how to find his way open. This guy, I mean, right now he's the best returning receiver in the ACC, inside especially. Just, last year, 4th in the country in slot grade. But I'm just so impressed by his football IQ, the details in his routes, and he's a wicked competitor, too. Yeah. I mean, there are parts of his game where I'm like, man, that looks a lot like Roman Wilson. He's just not going to be as straight line fast as Roman Wilson, but this is just one of those guys that finds his way open and beats you. I love watching him run routes. I love watching him compete. Miami had some shuffling around going at quarterback, but he could be in for a big time year this year with Cam Ward, who showed he'll throw in the slot a lot. You saw it last year, even with a guy like Lincoln Victor at Washington State. I think Restrepo's in for a year where he may lead the country in targets.
Yeah, absolutely might, dude. I think it's a great point by you. And I think the one thing when I was watching his tape a couple days ago that really jumped out about him, he's such a great separator, man. He was above 80th percentile in terms of separation rate and separation rate against single coverage. Against single coverage, he's open on nearly 70% of his targets. He has elite footwork for the position in the slot receiver alignment, man. Really good hands as well. Only had 4 drops last year, which is about a 4% drop rate for him. That's also in the 80th percentile for wide receivers. 1,074 receiving yards from the slot, which was second among FBS receivers to only your guy, Dalton, and also my guy, Malik Washington, who is now with the Miami Dolphins right now, who we both loved last year. Restrepo also had an 87.5 PFF grade, which was 7th among Power 5 receivers as well. Really, I think the best way to describe him, we kind of use this description a lot for tight ends, and deservedly so for the role they play. He's kind of like an ultimate security blanket for whatever quarterback is throwing the ball, man. He was 3rd among returning Power 5 receivers with 53 catches that went for either a first down or a touchdown. There were so many times last year where Tyler Van Dyke was under pressure and would have to roll out, which you never really want to see Tyler Van Dyke do. But when he did, Restrepo did a great job of breaking off his route, coming back to find Tyler Van Dyke, and coming back to find the football and presenting him an open target to throw to. I think with a more mobile quarterback in Cam Ward next year, that's going to be great for him. And a guy like Cam Ward who really needs to kind of rein it in next year and really fully realize his potential, having a reliable receiver like Xavier Restrepo is going to unlock so much of that for Cam Ward. So that I'm really excited for that combination next year. I think Restrepo is going to be Cam Ward's best friend next year. What are some of the negatives, though, Dawn, that you see with Xavier Restrepo?
Before I get to that, I actually just want to reel back on that point you just made about late in the play and Restrepo's talent in the improv game. I think that's actually Cam Ward's biggest flaw is when he gets to just decision-making late in the play and trying to fit it into tight windows and things like that. So I think Restrepo is going to help Ward a lot out. If Ward can just find him late in the play and just get it to him, he's going to find his way open. They'll have a lot more success. Restrepo, I think there's one clear thing that stands out as the weakness, and it's just one number stood out to me: 4.2 yards after the catch per reception. That's a very, very low number. I believe it was outside the top 300 among qualified receivers. He's just not going to give you a ton after the catch. He's not a size or an elite speed guy, right? He's kind of that classic slot weapon. He's the chain mover. He's going to get his way open. He's much better. Certain receivers are better before the catch, and certain ones are better after. Restrepo falls completely into the before bucket. If he can add something after the catch, whether it's better agility or speed or more moves and shake open in the open field or what have you, he's just not an elite player after the catch, right? He's an elite player before and not after. He's a great route runner. Now, in the draft, we see those types of guys. I think like Jacob Cowing, right? He went in the 4th round, I believe it was. It's a little more like that. where it's like he's such a great route runner. He's going to get open. He's going to move the chains. But is there anything else in the tank after the catch that he can make that he can make plays in the open field, right? Breaking tackles, running by people, things like that. Restrepo's not the biggest traits guy we have here in our top 10. He's so fundamentally sound. It's just a matter of if there is any more of a dimension after the catch to add to his game. Otherwise, his ceiling on that front is a little bit limited when you talk about the number one type receivers that get taken in the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's kind of a limited athlete. I think he's an average to above average athlete, but I don't think there's anything special there with Xavier Restrepo. He's scored in the 60th percentile for game athleticism score metric, or GAS metric, which is basically measuring how fast you are, your quickness, your change of direction, all that. So 60th percentile, which again is a little bit above average. And yeah, that was absolutely my number one negative with him. So usually with yards after catch guys, obviously they get a lot of their targets short. That way they can get the ball and immediately go downfield. A lot of the deep receivers don't score well in the yards after catch per reception metric, and it's not really their fault. It's because you're throwing it deep down the field. Usually you catch it and then immediately get tackled. That's how it really usually works. Restrepo is in the unique boat, though, where he is in the 18th percentile for yards after catch per reception and 20th percentile for average depth of target. So he was getting a lot of short, a lot of intermediate targets, and he still wasn't producing after the catch, which is really not what you want to see at all from him. He's only targeted about 9.3 yards downfield. He had 73 of his 119 targets last year. 73 of them were between 0 and 9 yards, and he still only averaged 4 yards after catch per reception. So again, I think that is by far his biggest negative right now, is he adds almost nothing after the catch, despite being a guy that you mostly use in the short and intermediate part of the field, and he still didn't really add too much in his game. But I think he's a very high IQ player, great route runner, and is a great security blanket, and certainly one of the slot receivers in the country. Just want to see him develop more after the catch. If he could do that, man, he could absolutely move up this list and maybe join the top 5 of this list. But as our number 6 receiver in college football, Xavier Restrepo out of Miami.